Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Benjamin, and like every Thursday, I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. Today, we're going to be discussing the NFL divisional round, specifically the games that are being played on Saturday. Doug, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Ross. And hey, coming off of last weekend with the NFL, had a 7-unit and a 6-unit winner. So those were great picks. And was at 15-4 now for weekly best bets in the NFL.
Wow.
So happy as could be about that. And here we go, dial it up. And what an interesting week based on the spreads, huh?
Yeah. Cold weather sites, with the exception of Tampa. 3 to 4 games will be played in sub 40 degree weather. But wind conditions, which are most important at this time of year, I'm seeing anywhere from 5 to 10 mile an hour winds at each location, which is virtually nothing. It's some interesting matchups, and I really truly believe the best 8 teams are here. I mean, I might get a frown from a Dallas Cowboy fan that said, we beat ourselves last week. Well, bottom line is you've been beating yourself for the last 3 years. Anyway, yeah. Doug, any other
still
thoughts?
Counts. Yeah. I say it still counts.
Yeah.
No matter what, you make 14 or you have 14 penalties. That's only on you. So that's how that goes. Yeah. I last week I brought up a couple of different trends, playoff trends, and don't have as many this week. I actually just have 2 that are pertinent and they're interesting and something that actually I was aware of when I found it. Home teams, okay, on Saturday. So the teams that are home on Saturday, they in the last 12 seasons, they are 21-3 straight up and 18-6 against the spread.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in those games, the over is 16-8. Okay, in those games. So that's useful stuff there. But on Sundays, the road teams have done better. Not so much straight up. They're 15-17, but they're 22-9-1 against the spread since 2006. So something to keep in mind for this upcoming week.
Absolutely. And the road teams didn't fare too well last Sunday, 1-2. But on Saturday, Buffalo came away with a winner as a Saturday home team. And who was the other game last Saturday, Doug? I can't recall. Cincinnati. So 2-0 straight up in ATS with the home teams last week, 1-1 on the total. So some interesting tidbits there from Doug Upstone in terms of NFL playoff history. Is that NFL playoff Saturdays and Sundays, correct?
Just division. I'm sorry, just the divisional round.
Just the divisional round. So
correct.
I'm glad we clarified that because we'll get all kinds of people coming in and telling us we don't know what we're talking about, but we do. Anyway, we thank you all for listening, and we certainly encourage your feedback. It's what makes this show go. Anyway, Doug, you got a free pick for us on Sunday, and it comes in a Cincinnati and Tennessee game right now. The Tennessee Titans are a 3.5-point home favorite. And the total on that game is either 47 or 47.5, depending on where you look. That game takes place in Nashville, Tennessee at 4:30. Doug, what do you got for us?
Well, in the opener on Sunday, Ross, Cincinnati is attracting a lot of action, okay, especially from those with the cash. I looked up at a website that I trust, and that's showing nearly 80% of the money is on the Bengals, even though just over 50% of it is in terms of tickets is on the Bengals. Now, let's face it, Joe Burrow, how he's played recently, he's just looked nearly unstoppable. And he's going up against a Tennessee defense that ranked 25th against the pass. Now, Cincinnati comes into this one. They're just pretty much average against the run. They were pretty much middle of the road, 4.4 yards per given up per carry. Trying to get that out, I guess here. So that was a problem. But they also lost one of their top run defenders last week. For all the adulation, though, that the Bengals are getting, last week was their first playoff win in 31 years. Now they got to take this act on the road. And speaking of 31 years, Ross and I we were really handsome fellows.
I was 12.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Give or take.
Yeah.
So with that, I look at Tennessee. They're experienced. They're getting Derrick Henry back. Okay. Now Derrick Henry doesn't figure to be a huge factor necessarily in the game. We don't know exactly how healthy he is or isn't, but obviously if they're inside the 5-yard line, you know who's going to get the ball for Tennessee. Now, Tennessee was written off, let's face it, okay, when Henry went down, but yet here they are, the number 1 seed, okay, coming into this game. I have to admit, you'd mentioned the 3.5 with Tennessee. Okay, little trepidation on that one. So I've decided to take the safer route. Okay, on for this particular play. Playoff teams typically that have coming off a bye, they come roaring out of the gate. Okay, in the first half. Okay, especially the first quarter, but they really take it to it. And I did some more research, and I uncovered that Tennessee is 8-1 against the first half line if they're playing at home and coming off a game in which they won by 3 points or less, which is actually the case when they played Houston a couple of weeks ago. And then the other aspect that I found is that first half underdogs like Cincinnati of 2 to 6 points after 4 consecutive covers against the spread for the entire game, they're only 3-8 against the number versus the first half line in their next outing. So in this one, I'm able to now take Tennessee off the 3.5, take it down to 2.5, where I think that's the better value, Ross. So I'm going to take Tennessee minus the 2.5 on the first half line.
Yeah, and obviously they're looking at those statistics too, because normally we see a line for 3.5. We'd be seeing a line of 1.5 or 2 for a first half line, and Tennessee is 2.5. A couple things on that game before I get to my selection in the San Francisco Green Bay game. I was surprised to know this, but I just read this yesterday. Cincinnati 0-7 straight up in franchise history in playoff away games. So, it's a whole different era. It's a whole different team. I get that, but it's always an obstacle when a team has to overcome a franchise losing streak such as that. So again, that's something to keep in mind. Another point, Mike Vrabel, as head coach of the Tennessee Titans, Doug, with 8 or more days rest, obviously he's coming off a bye, disqualifies 8-0 straight up in ATS since he's been the head man of Tennessee. So again, folks, those are just some handicapping tidbits. That doesn't mean I like Tennessee, but just something worth the topic of discussion. So, and I'm sure that might tip the scales toward Tennessee. I don't know. Doug said the numbers that Doug just gave me indicate some of the sharp money is going on Cincinnati early. So we'll see what happens there. But Doug Upstone, he likes the Tennessee Titans minus 2.5 over the Cincinnati Bengals in the first half. That's a first half bet on Saturday. So keep that in mind, folks. San Francisco at Green Bay, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff in the frozen tundra, where I think I read the low is going to be 2 and the high is going to be 10 on Saturday. Nothing unusual for this time of year in Green Bay.
Nope.
But you're right. You would know, right, Doug? Living in that part of the country for a long time. So, but now he lives in sunny Arizona. I don't want to get off topic here because he always rubs it in. Anyway, I'm going to look at the total in this game, which is 47. And I know a lot of people will say, well, you got to bet the under in Green Bay with those kind of frigid conditions. Well, all you had to look at was last week's Buffalo-New England game in frigid conditions, and 64 points were scored in that contest. The big thing for me when it gets this cold and at this time of year, Doug, when you're going to put a gauge on the weather and correspond that with your handicapping, the winds are what I look for the most, not the cold weather. I know that seems a little illogical, but it's true, folks. Because if you get 15, 20, 25 mile an hour winds, now it affects the passing game for 2 quarters for each team. It affects the kicking game for 2 quarters for each team. And 10 mile an hour winds in Green Bay aren't a lot to worry about at this time of year. Also, Green Bay, 6-1 to the over in their last 7 games. Their only under in that sequence was the game against Cleveland. They played at home on a Saturday. The total in that game was 46.5, and it finished 24-22. So barely under. Green Bay also in those last 7 games on 6 of those occasions scored 30 points or more. And then you got a San Francisco team that's, they've been playing great defense down the stretch, and that's been their calling card this year for the most part. But don't undervalue the San Francisco offense. I mean, they've scored 23 points or more in 8 of their last 9 games. I'm going to take San Francisco and Green Bay over the total of 47 on Saturday night in the NFL divisional round playoffs. And Doug Upstone in the early game, he likes the Tennessee Titans -2.5 as a first half bet over the Cincinnati Bengals. We will be back on Monday again, and we're going to do our college basketball edition. By the way, folks, the last 2 weeks, the last 3 videos we've done, 2 of them were college basketball. The other one was the NFL. We're 6-0 with our last 3 videos, 2-0 today. We're going to make it 8-0. So, yeah, we'll be back on Monday with our college basketball free pick edition. Doug, any final thoughts? Tell the people where they could find you, what you got going on, and how's it been going of late?
Yes, Ross, it's been going very well. As I said, got weekly best bets have been fantastic. So I'll have a 7-unit play this weekend, and the NFL in general. I'll have one other play as well, 42.29. That's almost 60% and up over $5,900 in profit based on units. So that's been very good. The college basketball continues to roll. I actually on a Wednesday night I hit my top play of the season thus far, and I'm on a 17-9 roll as the Creighton Blue Jays, okay, and that's one word, by the way, when you're talking about
Blue Jays,
the Blue Jays for this one. So yeah, so that was a blowout over St. John's. So I'll have some more big action coming up for this weekend, along with hockey that continues to roll 28-14, 66.6%. Keep it going, Ross.
Yes,
Stay
sir.
hot. Let's go.
You could find all of those picks for Doug Upstone at DocSports.com. A lot of great handicappers there. Doug being among the finest. I'm a little biased, but a great site. 50 years it's been since Doc Sports has been alive this year. And like I said, on numerous occasions, longevity speaks volumes in this industry. You don't win, you're not successful, you just don't stick around. So again, that's DocSports.com. You'll find Doug Upstone. You could find me at rbwins.com, where my NFL 10-star top plays have gone 7-2 in the last 9, also 9-3 with my last 12. Last Saturday, I had the Buffalo Bills as a 10-star top play. And on Sunday, I had the San Francisco 49ers, an outright underdog winner, as my 10-star top play. I'll have 2 10-star top plays, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. College basketball coming off a Tuesday evening in which I went 4-0 last night. It wasn't as lucky as Doug. I put up one play. I had the Alabama Crimson Tide -3.5. Folks, they won by 3. So goes college basketball betting. And they had an 8-point lead with 1:08 to go, and they missed 4 free throws down the stretch. And of course, the other side hit a couple threes in the interim too. So it happens. It is what it is. But rbwins.com and Doug Upstone, DocSports.com. Until next Monday, good luck, folks. God bless and take care.